Hey guys, welcome to our Leaping into Health series where we are going to be deep diving into constipation. I am Dr. Callie Horseman. I'm a pediatric and animal certified chiropractor located at the Hive Chiropractic Center here in both Holman and Galesville, Wisconsin. And if you have tried every remedy out there for your child's constipation, like Miralax, prunes, magnesium, then this video is for you. So, we went through a lot of the cases that we see in our office, and the issue of constipation just continues to be one that we see very regularly. Constipation is typically a sign of a bigger or deeper issue. This is why we see constipation being connected with so many other childhood issues, such as sensory processing disorders, autism, anxiety, developmental delays, and ADHD. So, whether it's in an infant, a toddler, or a person of any age, the problem of constipation is not something that should be occurring, and it tells us that there's some type of bigger underlying issue. Parents come in knowing that something is wrong, and you know it's just not normal to poop once a week or every other week, but you just don't know what else to do because you've tried it all. You've tried the schedules, the sticker challenges where if they go on the potty, they get a prize, the prune juice, the magnesium, and then that dreaded Miralax. But you're still watching your child struggle. So this is an all too common story in our office. And I just wanted to share a little patient testimonial from you guys. But we had the cutest little girl come into us for constipation. Her name was Erin. And she first came in with us to see us with night terrors and constipation. So her parents wanted a more natural solution and, more importantly, a better experience for her. She had been on Miralax for a very long time, and she was still experiencing the constipation and the bowel troubles, plus now seeing the sleep issues as well. So we had only been seeing Erin for a very short time, but by removing the stress on her nervous system through our chiropractic adjustments, her body was able to do the things that it's supposed to, like sleep and poop. The things that you think are just so common and they should be happening, but her body was able to kind of get out of that fight or flight and into that rest and digest so she could do those basic things like sleep and poop. Erin's mom also reported her sleeping longer, her pooping every single day, and she no longer needed Miralax. So if that's what you're looking for, you guys are listening to the right series. When we see constipation in kiddos, we are thinking of a few different things that could be going on. One of the first things that we think of is, could there be some sort of a gut microbiome or like a dysbiosis or imbalance in that gut microbiome? This could be due from things like food sensitivity. So a lot of times we see people coming in and they're like, well, my kid can't have dairy or gluten or oranges or strawberries or whatever it is. And that could be the case, but more than likely there's something that's triggering their body to fight that food because it's not a true allergy. It's just a sensitivity. So that tells us that there's an imbalance in that gut microbiome. It could also be used or caused by something like antibiotic use. Over and over and over of exposure to those antibiotics is going to kill all of the probiotics within our gut. The probiotics are things that help break down our food and they help our gut stay healthy. They also help our immune system, our sleep, you name it. There's a lot of things. It could also be due to the lack of the probiotics or exposure to germs. So yes, the antibiotic use can wipe out those good probiotics, but also something that we kind of overlook is our C-section babies. So when babies are born via C-section, they are coming out of their mother's womb from a sterile site, and they're not being covered with their mother's flora from that vaginal canal. So they might not have had an issue with antibiotics, but the way that they came into this world might have set them up to have less probiotics and less gut flora than someone that was born vaginally. Those are our kiddos that we often see that have chronic ear infections, of course, constipation, torticollis, breathing issues like lungs, chronic cough. They're always sick. But those are our C-section babies. And it's due to, again, not because they had antibiotics, but because they just didn't get exposed to the things that we would have liked them to get exposed to. We can also see this with our kiddos who have poor dietary intake. So the dysbiosis in the gut would mean that the nutrients from the food, the water, the vitamins, anything that we're taking in is just not getting properly absorbed or processed. So therefore, the bodily waste is not coming together and leaving the body as it should be. When our body is not properly breaking down this food, it can build up in the gut. And instead of getting the waste out, it just sits there. And all those toxins, and it just releases it all back into our body and into our gut, which just makes our body work that much harder. The second thing that we look at is a nervous system dysfunction. So that inhibits nerve function to the GI tract, making it slower at processing the body's waste, meaning it's going to remain inside of you longer. So the technical term for this is peristalsis. Peristalsis just means that your body's moving the food in the digestive tract. But what happens is sometimes if our nerves are not working to our GI tract, our body is not going to be able to process that food or move that food throughout. The third thing is what we call a subluxation or a misalignment in the pelvis or sacral region. So the sacrum is what we like to call in the pediatric chiropractic world, the poop button. So when our sacrum is not moving correctly, it can be really difficult to actually get the poop out of the rectum. We need to get this moving so that we just do this via adjustments, but that just means that everything else can do its job. The sacrum also contains nerves from what we call the parasympathetic nervous system. So you have two parts of your nervous system, super quick anatomy lesson. You have the parasympathetic nervous system, which is our rest and digest, which, as you can imagine, we're talking about constipation. We would like our body to be digesting. On the flip side, we've got what we call fight or flight. And that's when our body's in a state of stress and we're constantly worried about, are we going to survive? We're heightened at all times. We're on edge. If that makes sense. But the sacrum, like I said, has the parasympathetic nerve innervation. So when we move that bone via adjustments, we're actually stimulating that parasympathetic, that rest and digest. So that way our kids can just kind of calm down and do what they need to do as far as that resting and digesting. So you might be thinking, why would the body essentially just kind of malfunction to the point that it becomes constipated? And a lot of it just comes down to stress within our system. So again, we're seeing that we're stuck in the stress of that fight or flight, and we're not able to rest and digest. So we experience stress in three ways: physical stress, chemical stress, and emotional stress. The physical stressors are things like falls, birth trauma, sports, repetitive movements. I think about kids, how we make them sit a lot during the day. So they're sitting in their classrooms for 6 hours a day, or they're going to sports and they're contact sports, or they're falling. I think about this. My nephew, he's in hockey and he's 10, so now he knows how to skate. But for the longest time, they had to learn how to skate on the ice. And it was like every other step, they all just fell. So I just keep thinking like, oh, physical stress, there we go. The next one is chemical stress. So that is things like foods, medications, and products that we use on our skin. If you think back to the summer and we had all those air quality things, that's a chemical stress too. We're trying to breathe in this air and the air is just not quite as clean as it should be. So that's a chemical stress as well. Lastly, we have emotional stress. So this comes in the form of stress at home, stress at school, sports, grades, fitting in, you name it. Like, kids still experience that emotional stress. If they aren't handling that stress properly and adapting to that stress in their environment, it can cause a whole host of issues, including dysfunction in areas like the digestive tract, and that can lead to problems like constipation. So instead of living in that rest and digest side of our nervous system, we're seeing those kiddos get stuck in the opposite side of that fight or flight. And we're noticing this in our office, but also chiro offices around the world are seeing more and more kids stuck in this fight or flight. You guys might have seen like news articles or heard it in the on social media or whatever it is, but kids today are sicker than they've ever been before. And what we're seeing this is from is just, again, all of these stressors that we have in our life and that we're not adapting well to them. So what's the solution to that? Here at the Hive, we do a deep dive into your child's health history and look not only at their primary complaint of constipation, but also other things that might be going on that are out of the norm. Remember, constipation is not just about the gut itself. There's usually a deeper issue that's going on. We do a full body scan to assess how their body is handling stress, as well as their nervous system is functioning. So are they living in that state of fight or flight, or are they in that rest and digest? We are also adjusting the full body at our office, meaning we make sure your entire nervous system is functioning at its best. We always make sure that kiddos who come in with constipation issues have a perfectly aligned sacrum, as well as C1, which is our body's brake pedal. So it sits right behind our ears. And that's typically the one that we see that has the biggest impact with birth trauma. So especially our C-section kiddos, C1 is almost always plays a huge role in that. But we want to make sure that the nervous system is just relieved of any stress and tension that we can do. We do that just by providing adjustments. In our office, we also provide supplementation and recommendations for diet and nutrition to our parents with kids who are experiencing constipation issues. But yeah, we want to prevent any issues that can come before it even happens in the first place. But the biggest supplementation that we recommend here in our office for constipation is a good probiotic. Probiotics help by healing the gut. They provide a multitude of good bacteria to the system, and help with proper digestion, proper nutrient absorption, and help the body absorb the water it needs to, which is going to help our constipation and bowel movements as well. So the introduction of a good probiotic and chiropractic care is essential when we're looking at working with your child with constipation and improving outcomes for that. The biggest thing too that we see with probiotics, a lot of times parents will come to us and they're like, I have already tried probiotics, or I've already done this. Well, chances are the probiotics that we have been giving them, if we've gotten them at Target or Walmart or Walgreens or whatever it is, they're either already dead, so they're just not active, or there's just not enough strains or CFUs. CFUs are what we call colony forming units. And basically we want to see at least 7 different strains of probiotics. So 7 different types of bacteria that we're going to introduce into the gut. And we want to see at least 5 million CFUs, which means at every dose that we're getting millions of bacteria every time that we take this. So chances are it's just either we didn't have enough variety in the species that we were introducing into our system, or we just didn't quite have the volume. We didn't have enough. So we have a really great one that we recommend here at the office that can last forever, and it seems to be the best for our patients. So results. What we've been able to see by practicing this way, by clearing the nervous system by adjustments, by introducing a probiotic, or maybe reducing some of the things in our dietary or in our diets that would, maybe cause some inflammation, we start to see issues go down before they would even kind of come up. So we're preventing any constipation or gut issues. We're able to help kiddos have relief and be able to go poop more easily and generally pretty quickly after their first adjustment. We're also able to see a major difference in how kids are presenting. They just don't have such a hard tummy from being so backed up. They move better with their adjustments. A lot of times when we see constipation too, we'll see a behavioral change. So they're maybe having some anxiety when they're going to the bathroom because it hurts or it's painful, or they just don't want to do it because they don't like it. So we see improvement with that. We see kids that are less irritable and they're more happy. We also see improvement with other areas that they might be struggling with, such as anxiety, sleeping, eating behaviors, or sensory struggles. So if after hearing about our approach to constipation, if you think your child could benefit from chiropractic care or would like to take a closer look, please reach out to our office with any questions. We'd be happy to help. The first thing we would do is just get your kiddo scanned so we can see what their nervous system is doing, how they're functioning, and how they are adapting to stress. Are they in that fight or flight, or are they in that rest and digest? Either way, we are here for you guys and to help your kiddos feel and function better.